Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Park, and I'm Blacklane's head of global communications. It's great to see how many people have already joined. So we're just waiting for. We'll get started here in a few minutes. We'll start in 5 minutes with the conversation, and it's wonderful to see so many people on already. I'm going to get our guest of honor once he is on. Johnny, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for
Hey, how's
joining
my
our.
hair doing?
Yeah, I think you look great. So, so thanks for the conversation today. Looks like we already have about 60 people who are here,
Good.
and we've already had a few questions come in. So I'll just do a quick intro. I don't know that you need much of an introduction, but just so everybody on here knows who we are. I'll introduce myself quickly. I'm Adam Parkin. I'm Blacklane's head of global communications. And more importantly, I am here with somebody who used to have a fear of flying and now travels professionally. And the one who Forbes called the original travel influencer. His website, johnnyjet.com, is a must read. His newsletter is a must read. So sign up for it if you don't get it already. And here is Johnny Jet.
Hey, thank you. And
And
actually, I'm just about to send my newsletter, and right when I get off this call.
wonderful, so good. People should definitely sign up for it, and it's a must read for me every week. So and for those tuning in, I will say too, this is the first Instagram Live that Blacklane has done, and this will be a recurring feature that we do every Thursday. The times may change depending on where our guests live. Johnny's in Los Angeles, I'm in Berlin, and we'll get people from around the world to have different talks on the future of various topics. So today is a huge one on the future of travel. And Johnny, I think we'll just get right into it. And the number one question I think on everyone's mind right now is, what is the future of travel going to look like in a post-coronavirus world? What lessons will different different sectors learn, whether it's airlines, cruises, accommodations, ground transportation? What are the big takeaways that people will learn from the COVID-19 crisis?
Well, I got to look at my crystal ball
Yep.
and tell you what's going to happen. So this is what I think is going to happen. I think actually after 9/11, travel changed. And I think that's what's going to happen now until they find a vaccine. So after 9/11, we had to do, much stricter security. We couldn't, and then in 2004, they said no liquids, and we adapted. Actually, I was in London when that whole shoe bomber took place. I was in the airport actually, and I had to fly that day without any carry-on. They made you check everything, including my laptop.
Wow.
And I was like, are you kidding me? And that was the first time. And I was just reading last night about, I think it was Etihad. One of the airlines was making everyone check everything again. No cabin baggage. And
Wow.
so that's a possibility. I really hope that doesn't happen. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that, like for airlines, for example, I think like Delta right now is blocking the middle seats, which, it's nice to have extra room. I don't know how much that's going to help because you really need to be 6 feet away, according to the experts.
Mm-hmm.
Some even say 13 feet. It would be nice if they blocked the middle seat and the seat behind you. And that way no one's coughing on your neck. My little tip, by the way, for the future is going to be booking the last row, so no one will cough on me because no one coughs backwards.
Interesting. I had not thought about that. People have wanted to avoid the back because that's where all the babies are. But yeah, who knew that could be the prime seat now? And you'll be the closest one to get to wash your hands. So that's the other benefit.
Also, I think most of the babies usually are in the bulkhead, especially on overnight flights.
Right, because they have the thing that can.
They have the bassinet.
Yes.
But they are a lot in the back. But anyway, I have a little baby at home,
Right,
and a 3-year-old.
Yes.
And I try and book the bulkhead, by the way, just for extra legroom. But also, I think they're going to start being a lot more cleaner. I don't know why it took so long for the airlines and everyone to really cleanse the planes. I mean, right when it was announced, they're like, you know what, we're going to clean the planes once a day at night. And now they're doing it in between flights.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to see that carry on. And I think that's going to be important. I think, of course, spacing is going to be important. I don't think anyone's going to want to get on a plane if it's going to be cramped. I also think people are going to have rapid testing. So
Right.
hopefully they'll come up with something where you can, get tested right away, and they can tell. A fever is not going to do it because people are asymptomatic, according to the health experts. I'm no doctor, obviously.
Yep. No, and I've seen even today, I forget, one of the UAE airlines is...
That was Etihad.
Yep. One of them is doing testing now. And then I think Emirates had announced last week that they are, that their coronavirus cleaning specifications will be the new normal. So that's just how it will be from now on. So
yeah, and I think the other new normal will be everyone's going to be wearing masks,
right,
or face coverings.
Yeah.
And before, you'd only see that in Asia, but you're going to see this now. Flight attendants, passengers are going to probably be required to wear them the whole flight until they find a vaccine. And I've worn them before. I mean, whenever I had a cold and I had to fly, I would put a mask on.
Okay.
Or if someone sitting next to me was obviously sick, I would throw a mask on.
Yeah.
And I would sometimes get crazy looks, and I'm like, listen, I'm doing this to help you. And
Sure.
I think now it's going to be the new norm and accepted.
Well, and speaking of masks, you posted on your social channels the other day a picture of a mask that many frequent travelers may already have and not even know.
Yeah, an eye mask that you get from the amenity kits, or whenever I travel, especially on a long haul, my big secret is buy a really good fluffy eye mask.
Yep.
And then just instead of putting it over your eyes, you put it over your nose and mouth. I posted it on my Instagram and my Twitter and obviously my newsletter.
Yes.
So.
Very good. Well, one question that just came in, A.G. Townley asked, which regions do you expect to bounce back and be in a position to embrace tourism most quickly?
That's a good question. I think international travel is going to change because everyone's border is going to be different. I mean, I was hearing reports that Australia might not open up their borders for a long time to international travel. And places like that where they can contain it. I mean, I think in Australia right now, you can't even go between states. And so I think it's going to be an issue because when you do travel internationally, unless they find a vaccine, if they find a vaccine, game's over. Yeah. Everything's going to go back to normal. But if they don't, I think when you travel, they're going to say, okay, you need to have a visa to come in. You need to prove that you do not have COVID. You either need to do rapid testing, or you need to have like when you go to some African countries or even Asian countries, you need to have a yellow fever vaccine.
Yep.
You're going to have to prove that, or even do a health check on arrival. Yep. Which ones will do it best? I think the smaller ones will be able to contain it first. So I would think like Singapore or even Norway or Switzerland, depending. I mean, Switzerland has so many borders, so it will depend.
Yeah, maybe somewhere like Denmark, which really has a land border with just Germany, and obviously there's the bridge to Sweden. But hope I got my geography correct on that.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's a land. They don't have a land.
No, but you can. Yeah, you can get over. Yeah.
Yeah, to Germany.
Yeah, the other. The inference that I have from you here is that domestic travel would bounce back then before international travel. Is that the fair conclusion from your crystal ball?
For sure. I think my crystal ball is telling me that this is the year of the staycation. I think people are going to stay closer to home. And, people don't realize even their own backyard is amazing. First of all, I live in Los Angeles, so I don't think there's any better backyard than LA. There's everything. The mountains, the ocean, you have Mexico, the desert. But I grew up in Connecticut, which is right outside New York City. And just within, 100-mile range, we had, Rhode Island, Watch Hill, Rhode Island. You could go near to Boston or Massachusetts, Cape Cod, New Jersey. So there's a lot of different options, and people will be surprised what's in their backyard. I think this is going to be, at least for the year, until they find it. Let's hope they do find it. I don't think there's anything definitive, but.
Right. And how would you balance, or how do you think travelers are going to balance this idea of staycations and wanting to go somewhere with, people are cooped up, of course. Nobody's really going anywhere right now. But there's obviously uncertainty and possible fear. What are your thoughts on how travelers or the traveling public at large will figure that out and make some decisions?
I think, again, I think the younger generation is a lot more risk taking. I think so. They might want to venture off. They're adventurous. So, under 25, I can see them, taking a lot more chances because, first of all, their chances of getting sick are not as great as older people. So I think they might bounce back, but I just think, again, international travel, people are going to be they're going to be nervous. I think if they see the airlines are not full, I think they would get on a plane if it's not full. If they are packed, I don't think they're going to get on. If the price is right, they'll get on. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, I could have flown LA to Miami, $35 round trip on American Airlines, a 777 wide body. I looked up the flight load and there was 7 people on it.
Wow.
And I was tempted to do it, but I obviously I was smart enough not to, because you got to stay home right now.
Right.
And even when you get to those places, a lot of them are under quarantine. Florida is one of them. You have to self-quarantine for 14 days. And some of them, like Hawaii, are really taking it seriously, where they'll track you down and they will, and if you're out when you're not supposed to be, they will fine you $5,000 or throw you in jail for up to a year.
Wow. I just see Christine Printon has a comment or a question about the prices staying low. Now, $35, I mean, that's
Right.
unheard of. But what are your thoughts on how the fares, whether they're just low, really good, amazing deals? Do you have any ideas on how the pricing will come about?
Well, I think that $35 didn't last too long, although I have to double check. But I just got an email today saying New York to Norway, $250 to $300 round trip for August through, I think, March.
That's unheard of. Yeah,
that's unheard of. It's, August travel, and that's possibly realistic depending on what goes on. So there will be deals for the first few months, I think, because airlines are trying to get, they're trying to get some money in their pockets. So they'll offer these deals because no one's booking right now. But once they do start booking, and if this thing bounces back, the airlines have cut capacity. So the future flights, they're cutting capacity by, some of them are 80%.
Wow.
So the prices are definitely going to go up, let's say next summer, because there's not going to be as many flights going, many routes. But if you see a really good deal right now, like those $35, obviously that's a no-brainer, because it's worth losing it for $35, even though most airlines will at least give you a travel credit for up to a year. Some of them are even doing 2 years.
Right. Wow. Okay. The user MyCalm has a question saying that he's heard that the sales of cars in China are going up at the moment. Johnny, do you think that people will be more likely to go in their own vehicles rather than using public transportation, planes or trains, or other forms of travel?
I do. I think most people will definitely rather be in their car than someone else's, because they don't know if that person's sick. They don't know if the passenger before them was sick or how cleanliness is. I think a lot of the, the ride shares are going to take a hit because of that. You guys, Blacklane and other luxury car services, I think are going to benefit, because business travelers are not going to want to mess around. They're not going to want to risk saving just, a few dollars, because they want to make sure that, they're going to be in a car that's just been cleaned. The driver is going to be wearing a mask, hopefully wearing gloves, not plastic gloves. I would think luxury car service would be wearing some white gloves like they do in Japan and other places. But that's my opinion. And although I think the younger generation will take the chance with the real cheap ride shares.
Okay. Yeah. And one question that Gina had asked on Instagram, she had, before we had got started, when we did the post announcing this, do you see that more travelers, even those who consider themselves very, very seasoned travelers, do you think they would seek travel advisors she mentioned for international travel, but do you think with some of the uncertainty that people may use travel advisors more for international and domestic travel? For sure. I think, travel advisor is another word for travel agent, so for people who aren't familiar with that. And I think travel advisors and agents are going to come out as big winners of this, because, people do not want to deal with changing their flight, trying to get a refund,
or trying to keep up with all the delays and cancellations, when a good travel advisor will do all the dirty work for you. So, you know, I've had numerous emails from readers saying, you know, thank you for recommending your travel agent. I will definitely go back. I didn't have to do anything. They emailed me, told me that they're going to get the full refund, because unfortunately a lot of airlines have been playing games with customers, and especially third parties. I think third parties like big online travel agents like Expedia and Booking.com, they're taking a hit because their customer service has been terrible. And people, you know, they have to spend hours on the phone trying to get through. And for some reason, why are they doing this? I mean, it's 2020. Their technology should be good enough for people to either, you know, text or just log on and change their itinerary and get a full refund. The problem is these companies don't want to give a full refund, and they're trying to get people to do a travel voucher, so people have to call. But if your flight was canceled, and this is especially true for the United States, and now Europe has confirmed it as well, but in the US, it doesn't matter what airline it is, if it's a foreign carrier or not. If the flight was to, from, or within the US, and they canceled your flight or significantly delayed it, but significantly is kind of a gray area because they didn't define it, the DOT, you're due a full refund, not a travel voucher. So get that back. And in Europe, I just saw that a few days ago. Actually, we sent a tip out, I think yesterday, about it. That, again, you're due a full refund.
Okay.
If your flight is canceled.
Yes. And I'll give another plug for your website, because you've gone into detail here on what travelers need to do. I think you've had multiple articles on your website about refunds and various airlines and processes and what your rights are. So I'll just give a plug there. One question that came in, I didn't catch the name, but how will the COVID-19 affect cruises in the long term? Well, short term or long term. I've seen in the short term, many of them have stopped sailing, and it seems some of the dates for that are getting pushed even more when they may resume sailing. But yeah, what are your thoughts on cruises, and when would you consider taking one again?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, and I wrote an article. I got lambasted by some diehard cruisers. And listen, I love cruising. I've been on dozens of cruises. But I saw a tweet one saying that, you know, there were 4 people died on this cruise ship. So many people were trapped. This was a few weeks ago. And I was like, I tweeted, there's not one sane person that would go on a cruise right now. And most people agreed with me, but not everyone. And even a writer from the UK's Telegraph wrote an article about my tweet and saying how crazy I am, and that, but I just don't see it. I just don't see people getting on cruises right now, especially medium and large ships, because number one, they don't want to be trapped. That's the biggest thing, I think, because, you know, you hear about these stories of people they can't find a port. No country will let them in, and no one wants to deal with that, especially when you're confined to your cabin, and cabins on cruises are really tiny, unless you're getting a stateroom, which not many people are. So I think that's number one fear. Besides, I think that how it will change with cruises, you know, these, you know, huge buffets where people are grabbing the same utensils. And even though they would make you wash your hands or use hand sanitizer, which I've been on cruises where they had someone just stationed right there and they would put the hand sanitizer in your hand. It doesn't matter. Someone sneezes and then touches the spoon to shovel off some rice, then the next person, and it's just, that's how it goes. I think one good thing to come out of this is that people are going to be a lot more hygienic. I think people are going to cover their mouths. They're going to wear a mask. They're going to wash their hands, so whenever I would go on cruises, I would make a conscious effort. If I am dishing stuff out, I would always use this hand, and I would use this hand to either eat my bread or whatever if I didn't have a chance to go wash my hands. But I would always carry hand sanitizer, right, to make sure.
Well, I hope when you were telling the story about the buffet that nobody was trying to enjoy their breakfast or lunch or dinner, depending where they are in the world. Yeah, so I've never been on a cruise, but I think people can quickly understand the sanitation risks there.
But I think river cruises will do well.
Okay.
Especially European river cruises, because they're so they're much smaller, and and I've been on dozens of river cruises as well, and they're a great way to travel. And I think people just feel more secure because, let's say, a country won't let them in. The chances are you're only 50 feet from the land. I mean, I would
Right.
jump off and swim to shore. My wife's like, you can't say that, but that's what I would do if I really needed to get off.
Sure. And in those cruises, is it similar buffet meals, or are those plated meals, or is the dining service any different?
Usually for the breakfast, they have a buffet.
Okay.
But I think it's going to change. I think they're just going to, and on big cruises too, I don't know if I said this, I think they're going to have someone manning it. So instead of people grabbing the spoons, they're going to do it themselves. They're going to have their own employees. They're going to be wearing masks. And
almost like a carving station, but where somebody carves and serves, but they'll do that for everything now, because then they can maintain the sanitation.
And I think people will be being tested before they get on the ship and when they get off in every port, if they can do it. I mean, just taking the temperature is not going to do it. So I think there's going to be some kind of rapid testing and if they do that, it's going to be a much easier for these cruise ships to fill up. And I think they'll bounce back, but it's going to take a while.
Yes. Another question that came in from Zabawa Ola. She says, do you think leisure travel will start again this year? When do you think it's going to be back to normal? And I know normal, I should do the air quotes, because, if nobody's in a middle seat, well, that's not normal at all. But, what do you anticipate in terms of some kind of normalcy? Could it be by the end of this year, or are we looking more into next year or beyond?
Well, I think leisure travel is going to bounce back much faster than business travel.
Okay.
I think business travelers right now are starting to get the hang of Zoom and video conferencing, where it wasn't so awkward. They also realized how much money they're saving. They also don't want to take the chance of getting sick by traveling just for a meeting. I have friends who live in New York and would fly to Australia or New Zealand for a meeting, literally, and turn right back around, not even spend the night. I think those days are gone, are over, at least for the short term. For leisure traveler, I think it all depends. I think people are pent up. They want to get out. I just think they're going to stay closer to home this year until there's a vaccine. And also a lot of people don't have money right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my website is just, the revenue's gone down like 95%. And I think everyone in the travel business or publishing business is in the same boat. So it's going to take a while for people to earn money again so they can afford to travel. Right.
So even with lower prices, if people don't have the budget, it doesn't matter if the fares go low, or for many people. Not everybody, of course, but for many people.
But I think number one is the safety and the health.
Yes.
I mean, they don't care. I have friends, and I'm one of them. You couldn't pay me to get on a plane or a cruise right now until there's some kind of vaccine or testing done.
Okay. Okay. That's both. For someone who travels as much as you, it's sad to hear. As someone in the travel industry,
it's a sad truth. Unfortunately, it is. I've been embracing this time home. Right now, I would have just returned from Hawaii early this morning, with my family. It was going to be my daughter's first trip. We had this thing planned for months. I spent hours upon hours planning this trip. I had the best seats on the plane. I had the cheapest tickets, really nice hotels, and it was all canceled. But instead of being upset, we just wrote a post yesterday of how to have a Hawaiian luau at home.
I have not seen that one. I'll have to look at it.
So there's tricks like that where you can just embrace it. I mean, this is a time. It's a really weird and terrible time, but it's also a great time where people are really reflecting and realize how lucky we were to have the lives where we did before. I mean, I've gone to Hawaii for dinner, and it's unfathomable right now. And even just going to Hawaii is almost unfathomable right now. Right.
Yeah, my parents, they were supposed to be in Hawaii right now as well, and yeah, their trip from Texas was canceled.
See that we could have shared some hula pie.
Oh, at Duke's, yes. Yeah, they're usually at the timeshare at the Marriott there in Lahui. So, so I know that one quite well. Do you have examples of companies that have adapted the best? Are there any? You mentioned Delta has already said that no one will fly in the middle seat. Some companies have yeah, have changed processes already. So, and some are donating services. Just are there any companies that you can think of that have already done some nice adaptations to prepare for the future of travel?
Well, I think a lot of companies are starting to step up. I know even individual, I think even like the American Airlines Union, the flight attendant union, they were making face coverings out of their Miami office for people. So it's little things like that. I'm not sure exactly on which companies are doing what, but a lot of them have been stepping up. The ones that are doing the best are the ones that aren't giving passengers a difficult time to get their money back, and trying to force them to take a travel credit. But in these days, a lot of times people need the money. So I think the ones that have not been doing that are really going to get hit, and I think they're going to lose some business in the future. And I think a lot of people are going to learn to book direct, because these third parties, besides the travel advisors and travel agents, what they think are going to be the winners out of this, if there are any winners, or at least they're going to get some business, because I'd rather spend a few more dollars booking through a live person than going through an online travel agent that's going to give me a difficult time, make me spend hours upon hours. And right now, travel is so uncertain. We don't know. It's basically day by day, week by week, month by month.
Right. All right. So we're going to do two final questions here. Amy MW 2012 says, do you think people will start to think more sustainably about their travels?
I do. I think this another silver lining of this whole thing is that so many people have just been flying around the world, crisscrossing, literally like going to Asia from the US for a meeting or just to go have dinner. And they would do it 2-3 times a week. I have friends who do it. I think that's going to change, because now, first of all, they've been forced to stay home. They've been realize, what kind of damage they've been doing to the planet, and also how nice it is to also just have a much calmer life, stay home, and enjoy, instead of doing these really short, quick trips, do longer, more meaningful, and more sustainable.
Right. And now the last question. I don't know if you've seen John Krasinski's Some Good News, much needed levity in these days. So we'll, in that style, we'll just end and ask you, what is some good news you have seen in travel? As you said, so many people are hurting. I mean, you mentioned some of the work that I think American Airlines staff in Miami was doing. But, anything else that you can think of where there's some good news in the travel industry for all of us?
Some good news. Again, I think, there's less of an environmental impact. I think people are being nicer to each other. I think the biggest is that, people are going to be much more hygienic, where they're going to wear masks, wash their hands, be courteous. I've sat next to many passengers, including one of my last flights 2 months ago, where the guy was coughing without covering his mouth. And I would turn around like, dude. Or when people are watching movies without their earbuds, or talking on the phone on speakerphone without their earbuds, on planes or in the lounges. And I hope that stuff will change. I think I'm not confident on that part, but on the hygienic thing, I am. I think people will be much more, and that's the good news that I can think of. And there's a lot more good news that has come out of this, but
Sure. Well, Johnny, this has been wonderful. The time has flown. I can't believe it's 6:30 already. I think you and I could talk all day.
9:30 here in the morning.
Yes. So 6:30 p.m. for me, not 9:30 a.m. for you. And we appreciate everybody. I see somebody from Bali was just on. I know we have people in Germany and the States. I think somebody from Denmark certainly corrected our geography.
So what did they say on that? I missed it.
I'd have to go back. I think it was that land and sea routes to get to both Germany and Sweden from Denmark. So
is there a land route to Germany? I thought you had to take a ferry, and I know there was a bridge to Sweden. I've done that.
There is a ferry, but I think it's a more rural part of Germany. Where the border.
That's embarrassing for me, because I have a map right here. I'm part Danish. Yeah, you know what? They're right.
Okay.
I apologize. Yes, there is a. Wow. Sorry, I just. My ancestors are just shaking their head right now.
Well, yeah, I've enjoyed the conversation. Like I said, we could we could talk more. And if there wasn't an audience, I think you and I would just start talking about baseball. But thanks to everybody who was a part of this today, sent their questions. And as a reminder, we'll be back next week. We'll have a new guest, and we'll share on Instagram the exact time. And Johnny, we wish you and your family, both in LA, I know your father is in Miami, so we wish you all well, stay healthy, and we'll see you as soon as we can.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Thanks.